Johnathan Starkey covers Delaware government and politics for the News Journal and joins me now in our studio for a special edition of State of Play. Johnathan, thanks so much for being here. I'm good. You doing okay?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Talking John Carney to start, announcing his bid for governor. Is he going to run away with it?
It looks like, I mean, Democrats generally have an advantage over Republicans. They have 125,000 more voters statewide, and Democrats control Delaware in a way that they, have in the past few years, but hadn't historically. But now they really control the state. So he generally has that advantage over Colombanini, who's his main Republican rival. But it also looks like he's locking down Democratic Party supports. He's scaring off any potential primary rivals. Jack Markell, the current governor, who beat him in a 2008 primary, is supporting his campaign. The two Democratic U.S. senators, Chris Coons and Tom Carper, are supporting him. Looks like Attorney General Matt Dehn, who did have his eye on the governor's office at one time, is now supporting his campaign. They were all listed on this on a fundraiser at the Hotel DuPont on Monday.
So any chance of him running is just not going to happen?
The Attorney General? No, I don't think so. No, I think he's going to be happy in the Attorney General's office for a while. But it looks like, I mean, I'm hearing that Carney raised a ton of money on Monday, $200,000, and it's a big fundraiser for Delaware standards. And so it looks like he's locked down the Democratic Party. Democrats have such an advantage here that he's a huge favorite to win next year.
If he's a shoo-in, though, does he even need to campaign really or make that kind of money?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that it's a good thing for him to show support and to be able to, and it still costs money to run a statewide race. I mean, if he wants to advertise on television and essentially provide a show of force that shows he's in charge when he takes over, he's going to have some big issues when he gets elected in January. And Colombanini does have a track record of raising some money, so he could raise some money in his committee and in his PAC and spend some money to go after Carney a little bit. So he'll need money to run the race and pay staff.
But where has Bonini been? We really haven't seen or heard much from him.
Yeah, he's not. My understanding is he's been raising money, but when I've talked to him, he says that that's what he's doing. He's getting his campaign, his committees ready, but he's not showing up in public much. He didn't help Republicans in this legislative special election that they lost when Representative Barbieri resigned. And so he hasn't been knocking on doors. He hasn't been really helping Republicans on the trail. So we'll see. We'll see if he shows up soon.
He's also just a little too nice to Carney,
considering
their opponents.
Yeah, he says he's not shy about it. I think he takes some heat from his fellow Republicans when he tells us that he's a big fan of John Carney. They worked together when Carney was lieutenant governor and was in the Senate every day, and apparently they like each other, which maybe is not so good for Senator Bonini.
Let's talk about some of the other 2016 races. We've got the Bryans running for Congress.
Congressional primary. I think that's probably the most interesting race that we have. We had Representative Brian Short, who's a Brandywine 100 Democrat, and Senator Brian Townsend in the Delaware Senate, who's a Newark Democrat. And they're often running this congressional race. And this is the seat that Carney's currently occupying, and he's given up to come back to run for governor.
So how are the Bryans different, though?
Well, conventional wisdom suggests that Brian Townsend is progressive. He's got some younger members of the party in his corner. And Brian Short, the representative, is more of an establishment centrist Democrat. He relies on some support from, he used to work for Carney and then for Governor Carper in the 1990s. And he's got some of that support, some support from Joe Biden camp, and so we'll see. I think you have up-and-coming progressive versus centrist Democrat Brian Short.
And then the lieutenant governor race kind of getting a little competitive.
Yeah, there's about 30 people running for lieutenant governor. No, I think that we probably have 5 or 6 declared candidates. The one to watch at the moment, I think, is Senator Bethany Hall Long, who has served in the General Assembly for more than a decade, and Middletown Democrat, and so I think she's the early favorite just because she has political experience. But you also have a Kent County Levy Court, Brad Eby and Kathy McGinnis, Rehoboth Beach Commissioner. And it looks like Sherry Dorsey Walker, the Wilmington councilwoman, might get into the race. And with the mayoral primary that we're expecting in Wilmington, could draw some support out of the city.
Thanks for coming in. And you can read Johnathan's articles in the News Journal. He can also be found on Twitter at JW Starkey.